Trinidad and Tobago has long been one of the wealthiest countries in the Caribbean. For years, its oil and gas revenues gave it a massive economic edge over Jamaica. At one point, the gap was so large that Trinidad's total economy was almost twice the size of Jamaica's. But that picture is starting to change. Today, Jamaica's economy has grown to about $20 billion compared to Trinidad and Tobago's $28 billion. The gap is still there, but it's the narrowest it has been in decades. And that raises the question, how did Jamaica, once crippled by debt and near economic collapse, manage to close in on one of the Caribbean's richest nations? Let's start with Trinidad and Tobago, a country whose economic story has been shaped almost entirely by its oil and natural gas reserves. For decades, the energy sector has dominated their economy, driving growth, employment, and government revenue. They are the leading exporter of liquefied natural gas in the Caribbean, and the profits from these exports have fueled the nation's development in ways few other sectors could match. Over time, they also built a strong industrial base connected to their energy sector, like producing petrochemicals such as ammonia and methanol for export. This concentration on energy has allowed the country to achieve remarkable wealth for its size. Citizens enjoy one of the highest standards of living in the region, and their GDP per capita places them among the top 50 nations in the world. Yet this prosperity comes with inherent risks. Their economy is highly sensitive to global oil and gas prices, and any sudden drop can slow growth, reduce jobs, and shrink government revenue. A clear example came in 2024. Their economy has been shrinking at an average of 1.2% since 2014 because of how exposed their entire economy is to the global oil markets. Now, let's look at Jamaica's story, which couldn't be more different. In the early 2000s, Jamaica was in a deep crisis. Government debt had ballooned to 140% of GDP. To put it simply, the country owed more than its entire economy produced in a year. Economists around the world believed Jamaica was on the brink of bankruptcy. But instead of collapsing, the country made a remarkable comeback. The government worked with the International Monetary Fund, cut spending, and improved tax collection. These measures weren't popular. Citizens had to endure years of sacrifices, but it worked. By 2024, the country's debt had dropped to about 70% of GDP, still high, but a massive improvement. More importantly, Jamaica built a stronger foundation for growth. The big difference between Jamaica and Trinidad is diversification. Instead of depending on just one sector, Jamaica's economy is spread across several different industries. Tourism, for example, accounts for over 30% of GDP. Millions of visitors come each year to enjoy the country's beaches, mountains, and rich culture, creating jobs not only in hotels and restaurants, but also in transportation and local services. Jamaica has also become a hub for business process outsourcing. More than 44,000 workers are employed in customer service, technical support, and back-office operations for international companies. Their English-speaking workforce at competitive costs makes Jamaica an attractive location for global firms. Mining continues to play a role, as the country still exports bauxite and alumina, though this sector is smaller than it once was. It still provides jobs and export revenue. Together, these sectors create a balance that protects the country from shocks. If tourism slows, remittances and outsourcing can sustain the economy. If mining experiences a downturn, other industries can continue growing. This spread of income sources makes Jamaica's model far more resilient than relying on a single sector. To really understand the economic gap between Jamaica and Trinidad, it helps to look at the GDP per capita of each country. In Trinidad and Tobago, the GDP per capita is about $19,000 per year, and in Jamaica, it's $7,000 a year. Converted to their local currency, this is about 1.1 million Jamaican dollars, which works out to about 93,000 Jamaica dollars a month. The minimum wage in Jamaica is currently $16,000 for a 40-hour workweek, and in Trinidad and Tobago, it's $20 per hour, which would work out to $800 for a 40-hour week. Converted to US dollars and equal to $100 and $118 respectively. Looking at it this way helps us understand the common earning person's perspectives. While GDP per capita shows averages, it's the distribution of income, minimum wage, and everyday costs that really affect how people feel about the economy. So, what are the strengths of each country? For Trinidad and Tobago, their advantages are clear and largely tied to their energy sector. The country benefits from strong oil and gas exports, which not only drive economic growth, but also provide high-paying jobs in both the energy and petrochemical industries. This wealth translates into a higher GDP per person, giving citizens more spending power and allowing the government to collect substantial tax revenue. That revenue, in turn, supports schools, hospitals, and infrastructure, further reinforcing the country's economic position. Jamaica's strengths, however, lie in a different approach. Rather than relying on a single industry, the country has built a diversified economy that can better withstand shocks. Tourism and business process outsourcing are rapidly growing sectors, creating jobs and attracting investment. Jamaica has also improved its financial management over the past decade, reducing debt and creating greater economic stability, which helps the country weather both internal and external challenges. The next question is whether Jamaica could ever catch up to Trinidad's level of wealth. To understand this, we need to look at the numbers. Jamaica has about 2.8 million people, and its economy produces roughly $19.9 billion in goods and services each year. Trinidad, by comparison, has just 1.4 million people, yet enjoys far higher income per person, with a GDP per capita of $19,000. So, to match that level of income per individual, Jamaica's economy would need to grow to about $54 billion annually, nearly 2.7 times its current size. That would require nearly every sector of the economy to expand dramatically. Tourism, business process outsourcing, mining, and other industries would all have to scale up significantly. Currently, Jamaica's economy grows at roughly 2 to 3% per year, while Trinidad's grows around 1.6%. Even if Jamaica maintained the higher growth rate consistently, it would take more than 30 years just to reach Trinidad's current wealth per person, and that's assuming Trinidad's economy stops growing entirely, which is highly unlikely. In reality, Trinidad will continue to expand, making the gap even harder to close. Population size also plays a major role. Jamaica has twice as many people as Trinidad, meaning that even if both countries' total economies were identical, the average Jamaican would still have less income because the wealth must be spread across more citizens. In short, catching up isn't just a matter of growing the economy, it's a decades-long challenge requiring sustained growth across every sector, while factoring in population dynamics that make per-person wealth much harder to increase. So, is Jamaica becoming richer than Trinidad and Tobago? The short answer is no, and probably won't for decades. The math simply doesn't add up.